Hello and welcome to episode 81, woot woot, of our Conversations to Connect, Let's Get Real podcast, powered by Exceptional Connections. I'm Cyndi ONeill-Dady, the founder and chief connector of Exceptional Connections since 2009. Our conversation to connect this week is with the inspiring Debbie Page, joining us from Maple Valley, Washington. Welcome, Debbie.
Thank you so much, Cyndi. Thank you everyone for joining. This is so fun to see you and spend time with y'all.
Oh, I'm so excited to be rolling up our sleeves and discussing your amazing topic. The strongest networks are built in sunshine, not storms. So before we dive into this intriguing conversation, I want to take a moment to introduce Debbie to our exceptional connectors who may not already know her. So, Debbie Page is the leading authority on women and money and a dynamic business coach whose proven strategies consistently deliver outstanding results to her clients. She's dedicated to empowering women worldwide to achieve financial independence and business excellence. Debbie is the proud parent to her lovable muppets, Buster, her 10-year-old rescue Labrador Retriever and retired canine, right? And Walter, the 2-year-old Labrador Retriever. Boy, I gotta say that 3 times, right? So Debbie, before we jump in here, love to have you kick us off by sharing a little bit about your journey, and then you've got some big plans coming, girl, too.
Do and I love this conversation, Cyndi, and it really is, and we'll probably talk about this a lot in our coming minutes. This is all full circle, man. Like you and I met when we were, as I would say, itty bitty baby networkers. Like we were just figuring out like how to unpack some really not great networking lessons that we had learned at going to events that just didn't fill us up, right? And so
Fresh off the boat, right? Fresh off the boat
fresh,
freshman.
fresh, right? I mean, I still remember the event where I met you, and I walked into that event, and it was really the first time I had walked with intention into a networking event. I had a very clear and specific purpose for being there. And maybe that was part of what changed it, but I believe it was also the community. And what networking has taught me over the years, and I say this as somebody who is a self-described, reluctant networker from way back, and who has truly come to understand that the art of networking is about relationships and cultivating conversations and curating intentional moments with people. It isn't about shoveling business cards at people or marching out of an event with a whole bunch of business cards. It used to be like, I used to think of it as the people who seemed to like really be most excited about networking were treating it like it was a high stakes poker game. And if they walked out with the most business cards, they won. And that just never felt good to me, right? And I just knew there had to be, something different. And if you had asked that version of me who met you back in 2007 what my biggest takeaway would be going forward, like if I could have looked into that crystal ball and jumped ahead, it would have been building your network when you don't need it is the best life skill you can develop, whether you are an entrepreneur, an intrapreneur, a college student, an early stage professional, whatever it is. Build it when you don't need it, because then when you do, it's already right there, and it's so much easier to reach out to find those resources that you need, or maybe even those opportunities.
Well, you answered my first question because I wanted to know what inspired your message, and you really just gave it to us on a platter there. You've been such just an inspiring voice in our community, Debbie, in our networking community for so many years. And checking my records, as we talked about at our recent networking 16th anniversary Exceptional Connections event, where you were our spotlight speaker, you've spoken to our community on 7 opportunities and the most of anyone I've ever had share. And it's because of your heart and you walk the talk. What I really want to be able to kind of kick us off with is you've been teaching women to build wealth and confidence for years, right? So, how has your approach to relationships evolved alongside your business journey before we dig into your
Well,
framework?
how much time do we have, man? That's a question. I think that um, about the time that we met, so this is now almost 18 years ago. So this is for those listening, this is how long these relationships, some people who are live right now with us, and some will listen later, myself and Cyndi, Molly, some of the others, Lori Hardy, like these are people that I've known for a long time. But when 18 years ago, I was a very different version of myself. There was a rough edge to me and a harshness and an impatience. And I don't know if that resonates with anyone else, right? But I can tell you that I learned that those were all really just defense mechanisms inside myself. And that if I could just get really comfortable being uncomfortable, which is what networking taught me, I actually softened. And when I softened, I found myself opening up to conversations that led to opportunities, that led to connections and collaborations and chances to speak at networks or find other people to plug into someone else's community or resources for my own clients. And so I would just say that over the year, wherever you are, if you're an itty bitty baby networker, reluctant networker, you think you're a networking pro, like rock on, man, and take those skills and share them generously with everyone because networking isn't something that we are taught, air quotes around that. It is a skill that must be learned. And unfortunately, there's a lot of unlearning sometimes that comes with it in order to learn the right way. And what I would just share is that for anyone listening, watching, if you're looking for a community to help you understand how to network, Exceptional Connections is one of the top places to come. If you can be local here in the Pacific Northwest, don't miss an opportunity because the Exceptional Connections, the ECN way, will show you exactly how to build this framework for yourself to build authentic and real relationships. And for those people who might be a little bit reluctant, like, I don't know, frameworks and networking, that sounds a little bit like forced. Here's what I'm going to tell you systems actually show people how much you care. And so if you have an ECN way, you have a way to network, a model to follow, a blueprint, a framework, whatever you want to call, it gives you step by step what you need to do. The magic, the sprinkles on the cupcake, the unicorns, the rainbows, that's all what lives inside you. But you don't have to figure it out when you can plug into an organization like this or some of the other organizations that I know we'll talk about here later too. There are resources for you, and don't be afraid to raise your hand and say, I want to know how to do this.
That's so good. And we've come a long way, baby. So we should all pat ourselves on the back. I saw a thumbs up for Debbie while you were sharing just now with systems and structures. So, we need each other. The reality is we do. And, that really kind of takes us into jumping into your bridge framework, which I think was absolutely brilliant. And you begin with being authentic. And that's what you kind of were alluding to, being the best version of yourself. And we don't do that until we're comfortable in our own skin.
Mhm.
So share more about how we can be our best self and show up and not have to impress anybody or perform, right?
No, no. I think one of the easiest things to do, and I reflect on this, when my dad's health had failed and he had finally passed, one of the things that really struck home for me was this idea of the bridge framework being authentic before I needed something. Was that I built relationships during quote unquote the good times. And I invested time in other people's success first. I didn't ask for a thing. I wanted to know what Molly was up to. I wanted to hear about Lori and her, podcast business. I wanted to understand Lisa and how the evolution of her business is going. Like I invested the time to ask those questions. Sometimes you're asking them in person. Sometimes you're just, I'm going to call it appropriate cyber stalking. people who you want to know better online. I mean, the internet is a beautiful place to give us resources. And so just a couple minutes, a couple times a week can let you pop in and see what's happening. A lot of us share a lot online. And so understanding where someone is or what they're going through and being able to celebrate their success, to say, congratulations, this is exciting. I'm not asking for anything. I'm saying congratulations to you, Cyndi, on the anniversary of ECN. I'm saying congratulations to Molly for her recent birthday that I saw was celebrated on Facebook, Lori and her podcasting business. Like, these are all things that I see. And so I can make a point to either reach out, or in our case, when we saw each other all together a couple weeks ago, these were things that came up organically. And if you make this a habit, it then puts deposits into this bank by showing genuine interest in other people's success as well as their challenge. Will go so far for you. Because sometimes, look, the stuff that we share online isn't all, pixie dust and rainbows. Sometimes, we post some things like it's just kind of a, pooper duper day and I'm not real happy. Do you know what it means to someone to take a half a second to send a text or an instant message on whatever the platform is and say, hey, I saw your post. You don't need to reply, but I just want to let you know you're not alone.
Yeah.
You do something small like that for someone. This ties back to when my father passed. I made all these deposits all these years. And so then when somebody would say, I was so sorry to hear about your dad, how are you doing? I was able to look people in the eye and say, thank you so much. He was an amazing man. And I'm going to answer you really candidly. It gives us this like almost compressed opportunity to be real with each other, because we've taken these moments. And don't feel like, if you're listening, I gotta have 18 years of this, right? It doesn't work that way. It can be little moments, and never underestimate the power of your little moment in someone else's life. Someone somewhere today has a profound memory of something kind you did that you didn't think twice about doing, and it made everything different for them that day or that moment or that week. So that's where being authentic really starts.
And people see you differently and they don't put, walls up. The walls come down when we can, really be our true selves. So I love that. And it's obviously affected you in your business, not only networking, but also as a leader in the community. And it permeates every area of our life. I love that. So you want to jump into your bridge framework?
Yeah. So the B stands for being authentic, right? That's where we start. The R in bridge. So I love frameworks that go with acronyms, just like I know you do, Cyndi. So this always helps us remember things. The R in bridge stands for regular relationship maintenance. And so this is where systems show people how much we care. I believe that each of us has a very wide and very deep network. And I believe that if you really take a look at the people that you're connected to, there are about 25 key contacts in your world that you can schedule quarterly check ins on a regular basis. And if you move these 25 people through the year, it's not like you got to talk to 25 people this month, right? You take those 25 people and you divide them up into 8.3 every single month. And then the ones you talk to in January, you reconnect with in April. The ones you talk to in February, you reconnect with in May. The ones from March, you then connect with in June. And you do this 4 times a year. And it can be anything as simple as, hey, I was just thinking about you today. Well, do you know why I was thinking about you? Because I got you on the list. And at the end of the day, in all the years I've done this, no one's ever said, well, what made you think of me? Right? What made you think of me? And if they ever did, I'd say, well, actually, you're one of the 25 people that I intentionally connect with on a quarterly basis. And today happened to be your day. You tell somebody that, that's going to change completely how they see you. These quarterly check ins can be things like, it's all about making the deposit, it's about adding an insight, celebrating a win, sharing a resource, right? So if I have my list of 8 people that I'm going to be talking to here in October, and I take a look at it, and I know, as an example, because Lori's here on my screen in front of me, and I know she is really working with people right now around developing and crafting their podcasting. I'm honestly going to take a few minutes to go do some online research about podcasting. And I'm going to reach out to Lori and I'm going to say, gosh, Lori, it was so fun to see you. I'm really excited about what you're doing. I think thought leadership through, podcasting is an excellent platform to build, credibility and reputation for yourself. Your background in radio all these years is a no-brainer for anybody who's going to hire you. So good on you. I saw this statistic and you probably know it, but did you know whatever the statistic is that I have read or researched in that moment about podcasting? That only, look, with the Google juice, you guys, it just takes a couple minutes to find these things, and include a link to the article, send it by text, send it by email, something like that. That's where the sharing of the insight happens, right? So you learn something about them. It also shows them that you're interested in them. And when you are interested in other people, they become interested in you. Not a tit for a tat, not because they expect, like, oh, I have to do something for her, but truly because it's like, huh. And I promise you, there are maybe 1 out of 100 people who are going to do this, who will ever listen to this. And you will completely raise yourself to the top of any thought list that any of these people that you're reaching out to will have. And if you can go a step further in the regular relationship, remember personal details, milestones, right? I think knowing little things about people, I know Cyndi loves ladybugs. Every time I see something with a ladybug, I always think of Cyndi. And you can better bet that if I happen to be out and about and it's a thing or a card or a magnet or a sticker or something like that, it wouldn't be unlike me to pick up this ladybug and either give it to Cyndi the next time I saw her or drop it in the mail to her. And that's where I know, like for you, Cyndi, one of the companies that you work with, Mailbox Power, has these beautiful ways that you can sprinkle little bits of magic, onto people. Regular relationship maintenance, personal
Right.
details, milestones, whatever it is. And again, your connections are giving you all this information at your fingertips. All you have to do is get on your favorite online platform and you can probably find the milestone that you're looking for. So that's our R.
You're giving us so many beautiful examples of how to tend our networking garden, right? Ladybugs and all.
Yes, one of my favorites. I love it.
Because consistency is so important. So you mentioned structure, systems and structures. That allows us to be consistent.
Right.
That allows us to keep showing up. That allows us to do things with purpose,
Yeah.
right? We're not just throwing darts at the wall and calling people 1 month and then forgetting them for a year and a half. There's that consistency, that there's that flow. And then I love the way you touched in like using social media to find out what's going on in people's lives and be able to reach out to them with an unexpected text or call or email or card or something, some kind of a touch.
Mhm.
So I love all those great examples and the really the skeleton of that, of the conversation we're having right now and of your bridge foundation or framework is the skeleton is systems and structures and consistency. So not just throwing spaghetti at the wall, right?
No, it isn't. And you touched on something there too, Cindy, is the, not just once in a while, but being consistent at it. And I will also tell you, if you can flex the muscle and develop your system, because the reality is life is going to happen sometimes and it's going to be challenging and you're going to need to step off, right? When my dad had passed and I became caregiver for my mom with dementia, I was not as consistent as what I'm talking about right now. Like I felt like most days I was drowning, and if there was a water level, it sat right below my nose most days. And if I was lucky, I could kind of raise my face up a little bit, but some days I was bubbling underneath. The curious thing about that, and so I speak really from the heart on this one, was that for the time that I took care of her, and during that time when things weren't as consistent as I would have liked it, guess what? Who noticed that I missed a quarterly check-in? A few people. And you know what they did? They picked up the ball. Dad, I didn't hear from you. I hope everything's okay. Because they had gotten so used to hearing from me, it just became like, wait a minute, where did she go?
Right.
I need to go check on her. And so then they're hopping into Facebook and they're seeing this journey that I'm documenting with my mom. And now these stories start being shared. I
Right.
was the caregiver. It's these common connections that really build those relationships. If
So you make, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I just gonna say you make such a beautiful point because the reality is, even though we're talking about systems and structures and consistency, things happen. There's different ebbs and flows in life. And so if you have an intention of being consistent and you have structures and systems that help you to achieve that, you have that mentality of you want to be connecting with people on a regular basis, then when things happen, it's okay. It doesn't mean that you failed or you have to start all over again. It's just part of the flow of life. And it does, you made a beautiful point. In your not picking up the ball, let's just call it that way, it gives somebody else an opportunity to do that also. It
Yeah.
helps all of us. It's
And it
beautiful.
it is and here's the other thing for everyone, like, never apologize for that. Like, you're giving and you're never apologize. Oh, I'm sorry I haven't been in touch, blah, 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 blah. Right? Instead, especially as women, and that's where most of us are here, and Chuck, you're probably better at this than some of us. Instead of apologizing for not having been on your schedule, instead say, boy, Molly, it means a lot to me that you took the time to reach out. That completely changes the energy of that interaction and that conversation. And then I'll finish with this point on that. For the people who didn't even notice that I hadn't kept up, guess what happened when I was able to finally get above the surface of the water again and get back into my routine that meant so much to me? The number one thing that they said, gosh, I've missed you. It's good to hear from
Mhm.
you, you know?
Mhm.
And that is the thing that we talk about, Cyndi, which is it doesn't matter how much we know if people don't know how much we care, right?
Right.
And so that's where also for everyone who's building a platform in your area of thought leadership, in your area of expertise, right? By taking the moments to sprinkle these things, to pebble, as we talked about, these little gifts into other people, it will go so far in making sure that they understand that not only are you great at what you do, but you're really great at caring about other people and how they are.
That was such a beautiful analogy that you shared with the penguin. Can you share that with us again here?
Yeah, so I get this. So we're paraphrasing a little bit here, but the idea is this. So there's this concept called pebbling. And the idea is that when penguins are mated, they will drop a pebble at the feet at the little feet of their mate to let them know that they're thinking of them. And they don't do it with fanfare, and the pebble doesn't have to be a big pebble or a small pebble or a shiny pebble or any. It's just a pebble. And this accumulation of pebbles is the symbol to the care that the one penguin has towards the other. And so I think of this kind of communication, this bridge strategy, this framework is it's pebbling our way through and into really deep relationships in business and in life, which we're going to need, all of us. So the more pebbles that you get to drop, the more opportunities you have at some point to potentially make a withdrawal.
That's right. It's tangible evidence that you care.
Mhm.
And that's what different things that when we give a gift to somebody, when we send a card to somebody, they're just beautiful little reminders. The pebble analogy of just setting a pebble at somebody's feet. Um, I love that. That is so, so important. And I appreciate your examples of what you've done in your life because it really helps us all to think about how we can expand that philosophy and continue to reach out to people and leave little tokens of remembrance to let them know that we care about them and we're thinking about them.
Yeah, it's so important. And I think, so we talk about some of these things like that I would say are maybe softer, right? They're a little squishier. But what if we shift in the bridge strategy to we got some news we need to tell some clients? So, do you think, as you listen, that the B and the R, start to set a foundation for when you do need to inform a client of a change in location, a change in hours, a change in operation practices, a change in pricing, a change in, well, in my case, a different continent. Um, you have to be able to inform with intent when things are changing in your business that may impact your current clients, your ideal clients, or people who are considering working with you. And so in this framework, the I stands for inform with intent. And so anytime in our businesses we have changes that are coming, pricing, hours, we're moving, whatever it is, communicate those changes 3 to 6 months in advance. Give your existing people the opportunity to wrap their head around this, to maybe ask them questions. I'm going to tell you, I'm a person who does not like surprises. And when it comes to business, I like them even less. And so I try and carry that forward with my clients and with the people that I'm going to work with so that they aren't surprised as well. If I say, as an example, that my company is having a rate change in 2026, and I announce this in September, it gives me 3 months to have conversations with existing clients about what that's going to look like for them. They can plan for it. I know they're all kind of working into their budgets right now. And we're going to arrive at the beginning of the year with what I know to be a really high retention rate because I've given the time for them to plan for it. I've made sure there's space to get their questions answered, and they all feel good about it. Now, existing clients get that message. If you're inquiring new, we just go right into what the new program is, right? We don't have to have this double tiered system. I think it's important when you're doing that also to explain why. Why are these changes happening, right? And you don't have to get into the minutia of bottom line, top line revenue for you and your business and the profit margin and whatnot. I had a client recently who came to me and they had not had a change in their rates in their very high overhead service based business in 5 years. Do you think that their expenses might have changed over the last 5 years and perhaps their pricing structure had not kept up, right? And so when they came to me and they were having a cash flow issue and they were really struggling with what it was, you know, I go swimming in to find the opportunity, and that's what it is. So we communicate to their existing clients, we have done everything we can for the last 4 or 5 years to protect the rate that you pay when you select our services. The time has come in order for us to continue to serve you at this high level. We must make a change. Do you know how many of their clients got mad? None, because they understood. And in fact, most of them did what I did, which was kind of like tisk, 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 kind of shook their finger at him, like, why are you not changing? Like, you should have been doing this all along. We'd hate for you to go out of business, right? So don't be afraid of that. And then with that, inform with intent is provide the clear timelines and expectations, what's going to go along with it. So in my case, I knew in January of 2025 that I was going to be relocating out of my area. Now, where I was going, I did not know. But I knew that by the end of the year, I would be living somewhere else. And so I started a very intentional information communication structured strategy with everything from clients to volunteer opportunities to civic responsibilities, board roles. Everyone knew in January that by the end of the year, things were going to look different. And that in order to prepare for that, I was going to do everything in my power to be there through all those transitions to help find replacements, to backfill, to reelect, rehire, whatever we needed to do so that no one was left in a lurch. Now, sometimes people are going to say, yeah, but Debbie, that's kind of scary. Because, like, what if they say, okay, well, see ya? It's on them. That's on them. Don't worry about that. You get to control you. Don't worry about that piece. So inform with intent always, even if it's hard.
Such a powerful idea. And what I love about what you're sharing is what keeps coming up for me is transparent communication. In having and being straight with people and having that transparent communication, you're actually strengthening the relationships and the trust. Especially during seasons of transition like you've been going through. And you're a perfect example of that because didn't you share at our event that, all of your clients are moving forward with you?
Yep,
That's
every single
beautiful,
client. And
considering you're moving out of the country.
I'm moving out of the country several time zones away. And as I said, time zone change is my issue. It's not your issue. Here's kind of what it will look like. I would like to meet with you in your Pacific time zone, as an example, in the morning hours. That will be my evening hours. I'm not expecting you to be up late at night to meet with me in the morning because it's the start of the day. I'm choosing to do this. And because I'm choosing to do that, here's what it would look like. And every single one of them said, not a problem. A lot of them did say, I do like meeting with you after lunch better, but I'm not willing to end this relationship, so I'll meet with you at 8 in the morning.
Yeah, giving them choice is important too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So then the next part of this is delivering consistent value. That's what the D is in bridge. And this is about during these times of transition and during networking, is sharing industry insights, right? So your thought leadership, what it is that you're known for, finding ways to include these pebbles, if you will, as part of your communication strategy. If you know, again, I'm going to use you, Lori, so thank you for being on here. But if you know that podcasting is the number one way to increase and elevate your thought leadership in your area, to really take a microphone, if you will, and turn it into a megaphone with like worldwide wide reach, then sharing those things with people either through a regular newsletter, consistent online social media posting that's informative, LinkedIn communications, wherever your preferred playground is, but constantly adding value to people. You give away that kind of good stuff and get people thinking, they already know that when they start investing with you and they start hiring you, that there's just, thousands of dollars of magic that actually live on the other side of that relationship. The other thing to do is, we talked about this, Cindy, at your event, was making these introductions between connections, right? So delivering consistent value. One of my exercises every month is to just look through some people that I've had recent interaction with and think, who have I been talking to who needs to know someone else I've been talking to? And I just really kind of sit with it for a little bit and I look through maybe some Facebook interactions or Facebook messengers or LinkedIn comments or emails that have come into my inbox. I look through texts that come in and I think, okay, here we go. And I don't have to do it with everyone, but I'll do it with one or two people. Here's someone that I think you need to talk to, and always include because, right? Because I think you're both women of amazing integrity and you should completely know about each other and the businesses that you do. I don't know. There may be some opportunities, and I always do full disclosure. I don't know if there's opportunities where you guys are going to work together now, but I think you guys know a lot of really similar people, and I think could be a great resource for each other. And then I make that email. So I'm always very clear about why it is that I think two people should connect. I think one of the greatest introductions I got when I moved out to where I am right now in 2019 was a woman who had been a client of mine, sent me a Facebook message and copied another woman who had just moved to my town, which is not like I lived at the time in a very big town. So it was like needle in haystack kind of stuff. And she said, Debbie, I need you to know Krista. Krista, you need to know Debbie. And there are really three reasons. One, you both now live in this very small town. How random is that? Two, you both are absolutely nuts over your Labrador Retrievers. So there's that. And then three, I think you both are fantastic human beings that must know each other. That introduction turned to one dog date who has now created this woman who I know is a lifelong friend after 5 years. We have walked miles with these dogs and solved all the world's problems. It's little things like that that can happen at any time for you.
That's so beautiful. You know, delivering value reminds us of what you were talking about earlier. Relationships thrive when you give more than you take. And you were sharing the analogy earlier of like a deposit. So you're making deposits in a bank versus you're breaking the bank and taking all the money out. So we need to do that, right? We need to consistently be making more deposits than withdrawals. I don't think I ever intentionally want to make a withdrawal, but it happens, right? Things happen. And so if we're intentionally have the mindset of how can I connect people, how can I be of service to them, how can I support them, then it does take that rough road of when you need to make a withdrawal. It doesn't impact that relationship negatively.
Yeah, it is definitely, it creates an equilibrium, which always feels really good to me. So that's an excellent point. The G is for grow through giving. And I know this is a core value to you, Cyndi. It is about give, 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 give. And this looks like mentoring other people in your field. This looks like participating in industry events and communities and just showing up and giving, creating content that helps your network succeed, right? So when we create this giving economy, if you will, it really shows how committed we are to seeing people succeed. When you give your good stuff away through content, through thought leadership, through podcasting, however this manifests for you, it will demonstrate that somebody who maybe isn't quite ready to work with you yet can still win, right? And that's what we are all on this planet for in my lifetime, is to see other people succeed. And so if I can share something that I've been building in my business for 25 years, and I can take a moment to rattle that out into a LinkedIn newsletter that goes out to, however many people it goes out to, get shared off a few times, and somebody who's really been struggling with money and mindset gets that light bulb that they needed, maybe they'll come back and hire me, maybe they won't. But what I do know is that they're going to have the opportunity to go on and do more great work in their area of expertise. And that, I believe, Cyndi, in my world, is just another pebble. Now, that is a pebble that has been placed almost in some ways at my feet. That's a deposit that I have made. And I
Right.
know that when you put enough of that good stuff out there, it can't help but find its way back to you. So even if that person isn't your next client, that means that just a little more room has been made so that that person who's trying to find you will get to you. Um, Volunteering, man, I love to volunteer. It's one of the greatest ways to give back in community and to show people what it is that you do and why it is that it matters. When you're showing up for things that you value, you tend to be in rooms with other people who value the same thing. And when
True.
those people who value the same things are in conversation and in, proximity to each other, it opens doors for other opportunities. So grow through giving. It is, there is more than enough for all of us, right? There is more than enough for
Absolutely.
all of us. And so if you can just give, not to get, but just to give,
Right.
trust that everything that you are trying to achieve is going to come back to you faster and bigger than you could ever have imagined.
The magic of the universe is that when you give, the flip side of that is receive, just like when you breathe in, you breathe out. And we
Mhm.
forget about that. It's not just breathing out and being exhausted. It's just this beautiful ebb and flow. And so when we can really embrace that and see it as, because that's why you made an excellent point. A lot of people in their businesses, when I have coached people, share with them, and they're so exhausted. They're like, oh, I'm giving, 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 and I'm not getting anything, So somewhere in their psyche, there's the if I give enough, I'll get a huge return. The analogy of the garden is such a beautiful one because when you plant seeds and you have I wish I had a little little seed packet here. You buy a bunch of seeds, whether it's 100 or 1,000, depending on the size of the seed. Not all of the seeds are going to come up. Not all of them are going to germinate, right? And we're okay with that. Yet in business relationships, we kind of have this unspoken expectation that, just because I water that seed, that I should have this harvest. And so, really the analogy that's always helped me in my journey, and I'd love to hear your take on this as well, is we're planting lots of seeds, not for the, like you said, you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back, but because just knowing that the very act of planting seeds is sending magic out there, if you will. And then when beautiful things happen, and they use it, people use this statement, out of the blue, well, that out of the blue is that seed that you planted. It's coming up somewhere. And so if we can really all embrace that, then we won't be as anxious because desperation drives, is not pretty, right? Smelling
No,
desperation on, ourselves and others is not pretty. It really repels people. And
yeah.
so if we can really be grounded in our own selves, knowing that every seed that we plant is is going to come up someplace. And as a result, unexpected blessings are going to come too. So anyway, I just love your metaphor of growing through giving and then also the cycle that's behind that
Mhm.
because you want to focus on that. You don't want, like you say, you don't want to focus on like, what am I going to get out of it? But the reality is there is abundance coming if you plant enough seeds.
Oh, 100%. And it's always interesting to me, when you really, kind of start thinking through the giving for the pure joy of giving. A friend of mine said this to me when I first started networking. I asked her, she was a consummate networker. And I said, why do you think this works? I said, because again, back in the day when I was the itty bitty baby networker, I was like, I'm not quite seeing it yet. Like, I'm going to the events, I'm making the two connections, like you're saying, I'm scheduling the follow ups, I'm doing the coffee, but I'm looking at my bank account and it's not there yet. Right? It's not like, where is this direct correlation between I did these six things and now there should be money in my bank? And she laughed, and it was almost like one of those kind of Mr. Miyagi moments, right? And she sort of looked at me with this wise look in her eye over this very bougie cup of coffee, and she said, "Oh, Debbie, when you do enough of the right things, the business will always come." And I was like, oh, that is some Yoda kind of magic right there. Like, I don't know what I all I knew was she was right and I didn't know how. And now I know, 18 years later, when I look at revenue that comes into my business and where it comes from and organizations and people, all those deposits that I made were not with the intention of revenue coming, but those deposits have generated millions of dollars of revenue into my business, all because I just kept planting. Keep doing enough of the right things, and the business will come. You have to have a certain amount of faith with this and hang out with people who understand this too. That's the other thing. And then the final thing I'll leave you with, and then we can ask questions and all sorts of fun things is, the E in the bridge is execute smooth transactions. Always in your business, whether you're relocating, whether you're launching something new, whether you're in some kind of transition, use your network to facilitate these changes, right? Bring them in so they can help you navigate what's ahead. Leverage the relationships that you need in order to create continuity. I will say, I thought it was hard to move 25 miles away. Let's see, 6 years ago now. That was nothing compared to what it's taking to move to an entirely different continent, to an entirely different country. And you know what? I certainly could Google juice myself through this entire process, but I don't have to. because I reach out to somebody who's done something similar and I share with them, I have a question. Who in your network do you know? It's I can look and find online groups and communities and platforms and forums, but at the end of the day, just like for I think all of us in our business, I'm going to go to the source of somebody who's been there, done that, and can help me navigate this a little more efficiently and bring into my network somebody that was a resource for them. When you do that, it elevates everyone, because that person you're reaching out to is introducing someone that they respect into your network. And if they're making that connection, they respect you. And now everyone grows just a little bit more. Um, that happens when you maintain connections, right? The fact that somebody that I care very much about left the greater Puget Sound in 2010 and took off on a trip around the world. And I was convinced I would never see her again and that our friendship was over and that that was it and we would never again, like connect, has now turned into one of the closest friendships that I have as an adult woman. And that relationship has been maintained with great intention over time. And so when I need something now on this phase of my journey, she is willing to open up that portfolio and say, call this person, check with that person, go here. I don't know that person, but I think this one does. Can you connect with her? Like it's this beautiful tapestry of all these. You know how they'll do those maps with the pins in them, and then there'll be strings between everyone and all the things. That's what your business and your life should feel like at any given day. That all
Mm,
these people are pins, and there's all these strings that are connecting all of you, and you never know when you're going to need to pull one over to another and move this one over here so that everyone wins at the end of the day. And that's how you
that's
make sure that all this keeps going.
that's the beauty of networking, right? To use it as a bridge.
Yeah.
It's always about, tying your bridge metaphor into this as we close. It's, you want your networks to be bridges, not crutches. We want to be able to support each other during the good times and the bad times. And then the act of sowing, I'm coming out of the gardening season, so I've got all these I always have garden analogies in my head anyway, but I'm thinking we're not just randomly throwing seeds, you
Mhm.
know, just like it talks about in the Bible, you don't want it to land in the sun and be scorched or land in the rocks. You're doing it with intention. So let's, going back to your metaphor earlier with, be able to you know, inform with intent. Intention is an important quality in this whole scenario here. So, Debbie, I want to bring it home now. So, you talk about networking isn't just about collecting contacts, right? We know that. It's about cultivating genuine connections that turn business relationships into lasting partnerships. So, what's just bringing us home here? Why do you think people wait for the storm to start building bridges? And how can they shift that habit?
Yeah, I think it's human nature. And I think you have to be really intentional about the pace with which the world is moving right now. I think we can oftentimes get caught up and everything becomes a reaction, right? So many things we're reacting, whether it's in business or life or relationships or friendships or whatever it is. And that it absolutely takes intention. And it's one of the things that I think of often in my life where sometimes we have to slow down in order to accelerate whatever it is. By slowing down with intention and making those connections to create those relationships, to nurture the beginnings of those little itty bitty baby seeds that started to grow. By doing that, that turns into the opportunities, the lasting opportunities that will make a profound impact on you and your business. So while it is human nature to get caught in reaction mode, if you find yourself being a wee bit exhausted by that, because it triggers all sorts of not fun chemical reactions and cortisols and other not so great things. Just pause. Take a moment, 20 minutes in your day to look through and identify 25 people you want to have intentional relationships with. I think that's a really good use of time. And I think that another 20 minutes to take those 25 people and divide them up over the year, that's another slow down to speed up. Don't figure you have to do all this at once, do it in little bits. But if you can just hit pause sometimes and say, I'm going to take care of me first by taking care of others, you're actually going to find that this sense of sometimes frantic energy that can overcome you will actually settle down. Because I believe that that energy is actually a cry for purpose. It doesn't want to keep living inside you, just feeling like we're just reacting to everything and we're in this big blender of life. I believe that's our inside self saying, can we just hit the pause for a second and do something for someone else? And with intention, do something for someone else with absolutely no expectation. And I think if more of us could shift like that, the world would certainly be a very, very different place than if we can't change the whole world. You can certainly start by changing, your immediate world.
That's a beautiful segue for us to open up for any epiphanies, ahas, or questions that you may have for Debbie. So feel free to unmute yourself and let's share away. Molly.
Um, as Debbie was talking about this, and we've been networking for 18 years together. When I started Carefree Beauty Permanent Makeup, I was not allowed to have a website. I was not allowed to have a social media presence because I still owned the franchise for Alouette. And the thing that built my business fast was networking. And it was all the people who knew me for doing Alouette and just being the person who I was that supported me. And it built a 6-figure income in 11 months just because of networking and not doing it. And it's interesting now with Beauty Business Mastery starting this one, they always talk about doing social media. And I'm like, old school still is the best, reaching out personally, it makes a difference.
No, you're so right, Molly. And, again, we can have websites and we can have social presence, we can have all those things. But at the end of the day, people aren't going to do business with you because of your website.
Nope.
They're not going to do business with you because of your, flashy Instagram account. They're going to do business with you because they either connected to you, face to face, heart to heart, or someone that they know, like, and trusted did that and said, oh, you need to go talk to Molly.
Yep, exactly. It makes a difference.
Yeah, best ROI ever. That's awesome.
Lisa, I see that you unmuted yourself.
I did. I was thinking of what I would say. I just love what you had to say, Debbie. And I'm starting out fresh and I want to recapture what I've been doing. Oh, sorry.
Beautiful. Lori.
So I met Molly through Dawn Jones because she got her eyes done. And then I met you at Exceptional Connections. And Debbie, I don't know if you remember the first time we met.
So I don't remember exactly, but I know it's been a minute.
You were doing a radio show, but we were at somewhere in Bellevue, some sort of networking thing, and I was with Suzette. That was the first time I met you. And then I met you again at Exceptional Connections. But this is what I wonder when you started and you said that you were, whatever. I never saw that. But what would you say when you and Cyndi were like looking to network differently? What was the turning point, or what was the aha thing that helped you move forward and go, instead of being a reluctant networker, going, okay, I can do this kind of networking? Or
I think it was a great question. I think it was a couple of things. I think first of all, it is being really clear about what your purpose is for networking. If your purpose is to get business, be prepared for some challenging events. If your purpose is to contribute, right, and to add value and to become a resource for your clients and for your community, you will actually find, and I know this is going to be counterintuitive to someone because trust me, 18 years ago, if I'd been listening to myself, I would have been going, you are off your rocker. Like, there is no way that this happens. And I can say to you, 18 years later, it does work. Because when you show up being other focused, it creates this energy where other people are immediately interested in you. So I think you said something, Cyndi, about like we've all gone to those events where it can be really repellent. Like you come in and you feel like you're being hunted, like the minute you walk in, versus coming into an event and I just go immediately into curiosity mode. I'm going to look for a handful of people. I don't need to meet everyone in that room. I'm going to look for a handful of people who I haven't met yet. I'm going to see probably now at this point a lot of people I know, but I'm going to look for a handful of people I haven't met yet. And I'm going to look for something that I can do as an icebreaker that is going to be something other than, hey, so what do you do for work? Because that is just really awkward. Instead, I'm going to take a look around the room and I'm going to see Molly across the room and I'm going to go, that one. I want to get to know that lady. Anyone who shows up in a red leather jacket at a networking event is a woman that I want to know, right? And so I'm going to hustle my happy little self over and say, Molly, I can't help but just coming over here because I saw you from across the room in that amazing leather jacket. You know, how fantastic is that? There has to be a story. And Molly's going to tell me all about a trip to Italy. And we have not talked at all about business or what it is. And like, so now we've taken this awkwardness of like, are we jousting here to see if someone's going to hire each other? We're just talking as regular human beings, right? And if you can start there with intention, and yeah, it's going to feel awkward at first. It's like dating, right? Remember when we went on our first dates, they were just a little bit like uncomfortable, but you find your groove and you will do that. And if you can go into every event looking for no more than 5 people, ideally 2 people is good, and you go to 2 networking events a month, right? That's going to be 4 new connections that you make and 48 people over the course of a year. Do you believe that if you, with intention, connect with 48 individuals and start nurturing relationships and engaging with them in whatever way, that there may be a business opportunity or 2 that comes your way? Yeah, absolutely. And then the second thing I would give you, Lori, is follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. Always, always, always. Everyone that you connect with at an event, they should get an email from you as a thank you. Thank you so much, Lori, for taking the time to visit with me at the regional chamber event. It was amazing to talk to you. I look forward to staying connected. I don't know if you're up for virtual coffee. If you are, let me know and I can share my
I
link.
like that.
Yeah, or if you have a link, would you send me yours? That's the other thing, is this little nuance that I found over the years is I'm not just going to send you my link and say, hey, Lori, schedule time for coffee with me if you're up for it, right? I'm making it like, hey, I have a link, but if you have one and are interested, then go ahead and toss it back my way and I'll make it easy for you, right? I think it's those little things. And anytime I do that, you know what happens? I always get somebody's link back and I always get coffee and I always get 20 great minutes with somebody that I didn't know. And I figure out like, what do we need? And the final thing is if you will end every conversation that you have with somebody that you meet in this shape, fashion, or form with, what resource do you need for your business that I should be keeping my ears open for you? Oh, well, no one's ever asked me that. It's okay. You don't have to have an answer, but just know it comes from a place of genuine caring. So if you think there's something in your world that I can somehow support you with, don't hesitate to reach out. You make all the difference in the world in how you connect with people.
That's gold there.
That is gold.
Beautiful. And you know, it's gold that has been mined,
Yeah.
sifted, you know, through years because we're not taught how to network just naturally. I mean, it's more, especially if you're a solopreneur, entrepreneur, small business owner, it's a whole other world out there, a hidden world, I call it, because I didn't even understand the world of chamber of commerce and networking and all of that kind of stuff. But there's so many beautiful tips that you've shared, Debbie, that are near and dear to
Yes.
your heart and my heart and many of us on this call. And thank you for that. Well, any other last questions, burning questions before we close here? Kathy, I
I,
saw you.
I just want to say quickly that I am new to networking and a reluctant networker, for sure. And I am thankful that I met a woman through my esthetician who then introduced me to Marcel, who introduced me to this fabulous group. And what a great way to get my feet wet in the networking arena, because I do tend to be a little bit socially awkward in situations like that. I just find it a little bit uncomfortable and awkward. So I feel fortunate to have found this group to really kind of hone those skills. And Debbie, what an inspiring story that you have, and great tips and very helpful. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Kathy, and congratulations. And I will just say, like, you have found sort of this golden chalice of magnificence when it comes to
I
networking.
feel that.
Yeah, don't you? And
Yes.
here's what I would say is also recognize that as you develop your skills, take those skills and again, pebble them out, right? Go to the event that may not feel so comfortable, knowing that there is another woman or another man, another human being who's in that room at that other event having that same feeling that you have had, that you are continuing to work through, because I believe that they then will have the chance to meet with you and they will go, well, gosh, Kathy can do it. And Kathy's kind and Kathy's nice. And she's a little bit socially awkward and I'm a little bit socially awkward. And like, this is kind of awkwardly awesome. And we're having a good time. And I don't feel like, and I think that's the thing. One of my friends says, like, we have to find our people. And sometimes our people are out there in places looking for us too. And so I would also just say, when you do find a community, always make sure that you stay out in the community so that the community grows. Because if you just stay in that circle, other people may never have the opportunity to come in and to learn and to grow and to contribute, right? And then somebody else gets a chance to come in. So just keep taking these skills as you can, and when somebody else asks some other time, like you're going to be doing more coaching here, Kathy, than you can imagine.
Yeah.
We all have so many amazing gifts and talents. And as I'm looking around, even in this group today, those of us who have been around for a while and, we're still on this journey. We're still learning. We always are. And that's the fun of it, right? To be able to continue to challenge ourselves and move out of our comfort zones. Molly, what is this, your third iteration of a business? And
Yep.
she's just as excited now as she was when she first started and I met her in Alouette. And Debbie, you've had different iterations of yourself as I have, as Lori has with her background in radio. And the beauty of it, and I just would say to you, Kathy, who's starting, who I love to have people who are just starting the journey be a part of Exceptional Connections, because love to be able to help you save a lot of time and be able to accelerate your business. And so, Debbie alluded to it as we close here. It's who you hang around with. I mean, we've all heard this saying, you are the sum total of 5 people you spend the most time with. And so to be hanging around, it's just been an honor to be hanging around with amazing people like y'all. And Debbie, we're not, as we close here, you're planning to move to a different, country, different continent, to move to Spain, to start a new life, but we're not letting you go, girl.
Yeah.
We love you and we're grateful for the technology of the world that we live in, that we can be able to do Zooms and whatnot. So, as we close here, Debbie, I'd love to have you share how can our community continue to stay in touch with you in the midst of your plans to relocate?
I
Give
think
us some
that's
other ideas so that we can be
yeah,
able to
no,
have
this is
that
great.
confidence.
Yeah, this is great. Yeah, we are fortunate that we do not live in the 1800s and we are not,
Yeah.
putting like quilled pen
Right.
to, a paper. Dearest Cyndi, the world is a harsh place and we have traversed the mountain. Like, no, we get to like send messages and we use WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger or whatever our preferred tool is and say, hey, Cyndi, I haven't seen you. Like, let's connect. Let's hop on a Zoom. Let's do whatever. So, leverage technology, like just in
Yes.
your life and in your business. Don't be shy of it. And even if it's not your thing, recognize that it's probably someone else's. So find your way to stay connected. The best way, honestly, right now to stay connected to me is on LinkedIn. You can find me at Debbie K. Page on LinkedIn. I write a biweekly newsletter there that is full of information about cash flow and women and money. And so if you go to my profile, you can follow me if you want, or if you want to be bold, you can put that connect thing in there and you can send me a little message and say, I heard or connected with you through Exceptional Connections podcast and I want to stay connected. And that's how it starts. And you know what's going to happen? You're going to connect to me, and then I'm going to connect to you, and I'm going to see something you're doing on LinkedIn, and you see how this starts to work, right? But then, if by connecting with me, then every 2 weeks you'll get that newsletter. And then I include links to other things that I am doing. If we ever had an opportunity to engage, if that was something that you ever wanted to consider, then we have a chance to get to know each other a little bit before you make that decision.
And also, you can go to debbiepage.com, check out our website, and there's lots of resources there and opportunity. I'm going to do one more thing before we wrap up here, and I'm going to ask you what your parting words or encouragement for our community. But I'm going to kick it back to Molly because Molly, you have known Debbie as long as I have.
Mhm.
And the tres amigos here, we've been through a lot together, we've grown together, but share with our community the blessing that Debbie's been. We're going to just love on Debbie for a minute here.
Debbie, I met at eWomen, and when she took it on, I remember when she was new at it, and Debbie from the get-go, and I have to say the thing that changed my networking thing was you, and I don't know if it was you that said it or Debbie said it, but it was just all you have to do is connect with 2 to 3 people when you go to networking, and that just literally freed me up just to focus on a shorter, which you could be more real, you could be more authentic, and that was huge. But when I met Debbie, Debbie wasn't all about, oh, this is what I do and this is my business. I knew Debbie 10 years before I hired her as a coach. I mean, literally, it was 10 years that she loved on me. And then I hired her, and she literally is the reason I'm starting Beauty Business Mastery. I don't know if you know that, Deb, but you're the reason because of how much you changed my business life. Oh my gosh, you changed it so much. But I want to be able to help other people and do the same thing for them, in all the areas that I screwed up, that I want to help them do it. So you were the inspiration for it. So I thank you.
Thank you. It means a
But
lot.
Debbie invested in all of us. She invests in all of her clients and all her relationships. And you never know when they're gonna, if there'll be a client or not a client, or they connect you with somebody. There's always something that we can provide value with. So Molly, that's beautiful because I remember you sharing, you wish you had hired Debbie 10 years earlier,
Oh,
right?
yeah, 20 years earlier would have been great.
So anybody else want to do a quick shout out for Debbie and just acknowledge her and her brilliance and her just graciousness? Lori.
Yeah, I just, places that I go and I hear people that know people, and like, Don was telling me, Don Jones, about Debbie Page. I'm like, wait a minute, I know her. And, that's what's been really wonderful, even though we're in lots of different areas. It's like, and you and I have never even sat down to coffee, but yet I feel like we know each other and we know what each other does. And because we have been in the same circles, and which is an example of, you know, what it is like to network, to be like, oh, I know her. Oh, I've heard of her. And then, you know, it's like we can recommend people because it's like, well, I know they've had success. You know, and I love that. And I would much rather recommend somebody that I've actually met than somebody I find on the internet. So it's really awesome when we start going, oh, I know her. Oh, how do we know each other? So that's really awesome. And I just wish you the best of luck. And I'm just so glad
Yes.
I'm in your circle.
Thank you so
Mhm.
much. I just appreciate all this. It's so good. It's, you know, I think that this, I keep calling it, Cyndi, you'll appreciate this. This has been sort of this last half of the year has been like, I've been on the adios tour, as I called it, right? So it's, you know, going to see different, you know, friends in different parts of the country, you know, because recognizing that it may be a minute before we all get a chance to connect. I see you down there, Linda. Yeah, we'll jump to you here. But when I think about, you know, what you just shared, Lori, about what Dawn said and how, you know, we just feel like we know each other, and what you were saying, Molly, you know, it was 10 years before, and never in those 10 years, in all the times you might have said to me something about your business or a challenge you were facing, or boy, I wish I would have done this. Not once did I ever say, well, Molly, you know, I could help you with that if you just hire me. Like what I did was say, I understand, Molly, that's really challenging for a lot of people. Maybe this is something you could try, right? And so again, you just pebble this stuff down.
Yep.
Over time, you do this, and trust me, people, it is millions of dollars that comes back to you. And I will say this, and then we'll come to you, Linda, is somebody said to me once, when you come into a community, arrive and fill the space so that people can't imagine what it was like before you got there.
Mhm.
And if you think about that, you know, none of us has to be the new girl. Show up as who you are. If you're just rainbows and sparkles and kittens, then show up as rainbows and sparkles and kittens. And if you're, you know, awkward conversations, and I'm thinking of this client of mine. When I first met her, she was terrified to network because she was self-described as awkward. She had a loud laugh. She was felt really inappropriate most of the time because she just had always not had encouragement. I said, well, then show up as that, because I trust that the people who you are meant to connect with are going to see you and go, oh, wait a minute, I know who you are. Yeah, I know who you are. And it changed her business, right? We don't know the impact that we're going to have, but promise you, you will have an impact. And don't think that other people don't want to hear what you have to say, meet who you are, get to know you, have coffee with you. Everyone is thirsty for real human connection right now, and you're the person who can start that. Ms. Linda.
I was going to ask, a lot of times when I'm in with people talking about how to network and how to engage with referral partners or that kind of thing, often from a business point of view, they say bring something of value to someone else. And my question is about leveraging relationships like in the reverse. Like, what if I need something from somebody else and I don't know if they can help me or not? Where, like, I'm in need of something rather than me bringing what I have to them. I'm not sure what question to ask.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really great distinction, Linda. And here's what I would say. When I came to my first networking event 18 years ago, I came there looking for something. I needed to find a buyer for my business. And so I came into that room. First, I needed to find a buyer. Second, I understood that the buyer of that business probably wasn't going to be in that room. And then third, I also knew that I was going to meet some other people who would likely be a resource for me or for someone else. And so this is why, like, this question that I talk about is, I love to end the conversation with, what is a resource or something that you need for your business that I might be able to help you with, right? And I don't know if I can help you, but I'm going to ask you that every time. So don't be afraid to come in and, you know, as you're networking, you know, people will say, well, what brought you here today? As an example, somebody might, and say, actually, I'm kind of looking for something. And I don't know if you, I never expect that the person in front of me is the resource that I need, but
Right.
I know that if I say it often enough, the resource that I need is going to make its way back to me. That's how the buyer to my first business found me. She was not in that room, but her sister was. And her sister said, after me showing up several months in a row saying, "What is it that you need for your business?" And I said, "I'm looking to connect with someone who's interested in buying a financial services company. Ideally, it's a woman. She's in the growth stage. She does this." And a woman, two people over from me in this networking circle, leaned over and said, "I need your card because I had lunch and I need to connect you to someone." And that was the beginning of that conversation. And so it could be anything from I need a roofer, I need a window cleaner, I need a web designer, a branding person, a marketing person, whatever it is, a small business coach, consultant, someone to walk my cat, Chuck, like whatever it is, like I need this resource. Go ahead because you can ask for those things, Linda, because the other thing is people want to be a resource for you. And once your need is filled, you get to also start filling that need for other people because when you share what you need, someone else is going to ask for what they need. And now that energetic exchange has happened and there's this openness that says, okay, somehow this is going to get to what both of us need.
Thank you.
You're
It's
welcome.
Oh, and
beautiful.
then just one last thing, the execute. I missed the E in bridge is execute, and execute what?
Yeah. Smooth transitions.
Say that again. Smooth
Transitions.
execute transitions.
Smooth transitions. So this is where when you're moving, when you're growing in your business, leverage the people that you know in your network to make that transition easier. Yes, we can Google the thing, and you might do that too, but don't hesitate to reach out to your network and say, who do we know? Who in my network does this? I need a blank. Who do you got? Who am I missing? Leverage those relationships, regardless of where you are geographically.
Well, thank you, everyone. And thank you, Debbie. Debbie, any parting words you want to leave us with? And thank you for your generosity in staying over here.
Oh my gosh, thank you all. It was amazing. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for everything that you have given me over the years. Thank you to this community. Thank you, Cyndi, for inviting me into this community and trusting me so much with all sorts of messages. Thank you for calling me a couple of days before a massive life-changing shutdown a few years ago as you tried to navigate what was going to happen. And thank you, Cyndi, for what you did to maintain exceptional connections as a local and then regional and quite frankly national resource for people at a time when people didn't know what to do. You kept showing up. And if that's the final word that I get here, it's for everyone who's listening. Take a page out of Cyndi's playbook and keep showing up. When you show up, good things will happen for you.
Thank you, Debbie. And soon to be international.
International, exactly. Your first
Thanks to you.
Spanish exceptional connections
Thanks to you.
connection.
Claro que sí. You have to practice your Spanish. Did you? So, well, thank you, everybody. I just want to just leave you with a parting thought to remember to make every connection an exceptional connection. Thank you all. Signing off.
Adios.
Adios. Hasta luego.